You want me to wear a tie to an airplane parts factory?
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I was not here yesterday because I wanted to actually think of fresh ideas for the show. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot to talk about on the show, but I wanted to do something fun today, and that's to talk about specific characters. We're gonna start off with none other than the man himself, George Lopez. What I want to do in these videos is literally show you a timeline of their whole entire life as much as we can get. And obviously just add some of the big parts here and just talk about the character as a whole. I want to do this for every single character because I think this is actually a really fun idea and it lets you kind of see deeper into these characters that we fell in love with so much. Without further ado though, let's get into it. As always, thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you to the members, you guys are beautiful. Let's get into it. So I did want to start off with the first episode, but the truth is, there is so much more to George Lopez than what we get to see in the first episode.
Honey, I spent 16 years on the line with these guys. It's gonna take a while before they respect me as manager.
But to just kind of set up the platform here, George at this time is possibly 30 to 35 years old. He has been at the factory for 15 years and he has made manager. We get to see that he is married to Angie and he has two kids, Max and Carmen.
Carmen, did I put lunch money in your bag?
It's there, don't worry about it. I'll just share with the cheerleaders. They don't eat their food.
What's a period?
Now, it is his first day, but the first episode shows you that George is a man that likes respect. George is also someone that is willing to work for that respect, and it's already a very admirable character trait. But this character trait becomes even bigger when you realize what his upbringing is actually like.
George, you in here? Why are you crying?
Everything was shaky, and then the lights went out.
There are incest victims with less repressed memories than you.
You see, throughout the seasons, you'll get to kind of see that George deals with a lot of the past trauma that he suffered when he was growing up, more specifically at the hands of Benny. Now, Benny is his mom, and Benny basically made George's life feel like it was survival, like he just had to get through the day.
But I gotta do what's best for the company.
What's best for the company? I'm your mother. Was the company there when you won your Little League trophy?
Mom, you weren't even there. You dropped me off at the curb.
And that is how he mentions it. Though there are so many other episodes that show you different, but throughout the whole entire show, as you watch it, you're gonna realize that George constantly complains about Benny and how she raised him. Now you might be asking, what about his dad? Well, throughout the first few seasons, George is looking for his dad, and we don't know who his dad is, but we are getting ahead of ourselves. We come to find out that George more than likely had been dealing with dyslexia from the very beginning, and because he dealt with dyslexia, he wasn't always the best student. George struggled through school, and it wasn't just because of his home life, but it's just because he just didn't have it in him. He didn't have that motivation of someone to actively push him to do better. We also get to find out that George has a childhood friend, Ernie.
Where's your date, dude?
She said she was parking my car, but it's been like an hour.
Now, Ernie is one of those friends that you meet when you're younger and they just never go away. At this point, they've been friends for at least 30 years, as Ernie also works at the factory that George is now running. The first few seasons, you'll see George constantly looking for his dad and Benny lying to him about who he is. It gets so good to the point where George feels like he may have finally found his dad. We get to find out a little bit about Benny without getting so much into it, that Benny had a lot of encounters with a lot of men, and it's a possibility that Benny doesn't even know who George's dad actually is. And this is just terrible. We don't ever really get to a break in the case until George ends up meeting his Aunt Cecilia. His Aunt Cecilia is dubbed by Benny as the poison cookie lady. And you can kind of see that Benny wanted to keep George away from his dad as much as he could once he walked out on him. And Cecilia finally tells George that she actually knows where his dad is and that he is not dead as Benny has been telling them all these years. Luckily for him, because George has been looking for Manny forever. George essentially lets that whole finding my dad situation lay to rest because he realizes that it should be a two-way street. Manny knows that George is alive, but he is also not coming looking for him. And for once, he decides to just let it go. Unfortunately, he doesn't really let it go, as the upbringing that he had to go through is extremely visible in how he raises Carmen and Max, specifically Carmen.
Worst day of my life.
I made fun of some kids, so today they made fun of you. But honey, isn't it possible that they were just gonna make fun of you anyway?
You see, George is a lot more stern and strict on Carmen because we low-key feel like she represents everything that George was raised around, or more specifically, how he was. See, Carmen is rebellious. Carmen doesn't take no for an answer. Most importantly, Carmen is big on her emotions, something that George is extremely weak on. Now, because of this, you'll get to see that George and Carmen don't necessarily have the best relationship, though they do share a few good moments. Now, when it comes to Max, George is specifically more attached to Max, and it's not just because you can see it, it's because they verbally let you know.
I'm sorry I said that. Cat was angry. I'd never give up on you, son. I believe in you.
George prefers Max over Carmen. And it's specifically because we can tell that Max represents everything George wanted to be and wanted to be treated as when he was a kid. George lets Max get away with so much more. He pushes him as he wishes his dad would have. And he is just more loving because he feels he deserved more love when he was growing up himself. And when it comes to Angie, George is absolutely head over heels for Angie in the first few seasons. But a lot of people question, how is it that someone as beautiful as Angie ends up with George? And there is an explanation for this. George and Angie met in high school. Angie was a cheerleader and George was just a quote-unquote loser.
Leaders who don't show up with losers? No.
Who lied first? How can they ever come back from that? Nasty cheerleaders who make bets about going to dances with losers.
George essentially just got lucky because Angie was playing a prank. Angie essentially made it a game to see who could take the biggest loser to the prom. And that's essentially what got them to go out on their first date. Now, because Angie wasn't expecting this to be an actual date, she tries to blow George off and end the night early, only for George to show her a mural that he painted of her. And this is what makes Angie fall in love. This is what starts their love story. Now, unfortunately for them, George lied about the mural because it actually wasn't him who painted it. All he did was add his signature to it. And we find out that George has been lying about the way that they got together, but he also finds out that Angie also lied about her intentions of wanting to go to the prom with him, of wanting to go to the Sadie's dance with him. And I did say prom, it's actually Sadie's, it's girl's choice. So far, you've gotten to know George's upbringing, his father, missing, his family, his work, but who is George?
We're dealing with this now.
Look, Angie, is it that big a deal? Why does she need to know how to swim? We're already here.
Now, I can tell you that George is just a traumatized kid trying to put the pieces together of everything that was broken in him when he was a kid. But in reality George is just someone that got extremely lucky in life, but not just luck, he persevered a lot. At the end of it, George is a family man who actually puts in work and shows his kids just how much he can overcome by being honest and never giving up.
You win. Factory stays.
Really?
Since Jack and Mel are going to come down to Mexico, you're going to have to run this place by yourself.
Really?
You're a tough negotiator. I guess I am.
We directly get to see this at the end of the show when George learns the meaning of loyalty, stands up for his family, and ends up getting the ultimate reward for it by becoming the president of the factory that he once just filled out an application for. Now, I know that this explanation might be a little bit vague or it might be a little bit empty, but in all honesty, it gives it justice. George is a good man who was very much misunderstood when it came to parenting. Unfortunately, he uses his upbringing as a built-in excuse on why he has a lot of sucky moments. At the end of the day, George does look out for his kids and he makes sure that they are quote-unquote surviving, but also that they do get what they need. Okay, guys, that is gonna be it for me. If you guys enjoyed this one, make sure you guys hit the like. The next upcoming one is going to be Max, so make sure you guys subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of this one. Let me know if there is something else I missed on George specifically. As always, thank you so much for your support. I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Only mistake I've made was leaving you with that crazy cabrona.